I'm standing in the shadows backstage at Bridgestone Arena, fluorescent lights humming above me like angry wasps clutching a red USB drive that contains proof of murder. On that drive is a video of my former best friend loosening the brake bolts on my sister's car 5 years ago. Video she filmed herself. Video she's kept all this time like a trophy. Or maybe like penance. I have 3 hours before this concert ends. 3 hours to decide if I'm going to hand this evidence to the FBI agent working undercover as our sound engineer, or if I'm going to confront the woman who destroyed my life and watch her face when she realizes everything she built on my sister's grave is about to collapse. If you've ever had to choose between justice and revenge, if you've ever wondered what you'd do when the person who destroyed your life is standing right in front of you, trapped with nowhere to run, hit that like button and subscribe. Because this story is about what happens when the universe gives you one chance to make things right, and you have to decide what right even means anymore. Let me take you back to where this began. That's my sister's song, when event planner served her cheating husband at her own concert, 2 weeks earlier, Seattle. The studio apartment I was leaving behind wasn't much. Capitol Hill 4th floor walk-up neighbors who blasted music until 2 a.m. But it had been mine. The last piece of the life I'd built before everything fell apart. I stood in the empty space looking at the water-stained ceiling, the scratched hardwood floors, the window that never quite closed all the way. 6 months ago, I'd been Elena Martinez, event director of Stellar Events. I'd had a corner office in Pioneer Square, a portfolio of high-end clients, and a business partner I trusted completely. Marcus Chen. We'd built the firm together over 12 years. Started as classmates at the University of Washington, became friends, became partners, both business and personal, though we'd never made it official with rings or papers. We'd been too busy creating award-winning events, too focused on building something that would last. Turns out the only thing that lasted was the betrayal. 6 months ago, Marcus had come to my office with papers I didn't understand at first. Legal documents, corporate restructuring. He'd sold his share of Stellar Events to an investor I'd never met. A woman named Natalie Ross, who apparently had deep pockets and deeper plans. "It's time for a change, Elena," Marcus had said, not meeting my eyes. "We've grown apart. The firm needs fresh energy. Natalie has ideas." "You're leaving me?" He'd flinched at the word leaving, but he hadn't denied it. Within 3 months, Natalie had systematically destroyed every contract I'd fought to secure. She'd spread rumors about my work quality, poached my best employees, and made it clear that Stellar Events had no room for Martinez anymore. When I'd finally confronted Marcus, begged him to explain what I'd done wrong, he'd said only, "Some things end, Elena. You have to learn to let go." I'd lost the firm, lost the condo I'd been buying in Queen Anne, lost my savings fighting legal battles I couldn't win, and now I was moving out of this shitty studio apartment because I couldn't even afford the $800 rent anymore. My phone buzzed. Text from Isabella Chen, my former project manager and one of the few people who'd stayed loyal. "Isabella, you sure about this Nashville gig? There are other options." Me. "Like what, bankrupting myself, further fighting Marcus? I'm done fighting Izzy." Isabella. "You're the most talented event planner I know. This is temporary. You'll rebuild." Me. "Maybe. Right now I just need to survive." The concert job had been a last resort. Summer Stars Festival, one of those massive 3-day music events that catered to 50,000 attendees. They'd been desperate for staff high turnover, apparently because working backstage for 16-hour shifts wasn't everyone's idea of a dream job. But for me, it was perfect. Cash up front. No questions asked. No rent since housing was included. No Marcus. No daily reminders of everything I'd lost. Just music strangers and space to figure out who Elena Martinez was supposed to be now that she'd lost everything that defined her. I grabbed my 2 suitcases, everything I owned fit in 2 suitcases now, and locked the apartment door for the last time. July 15th, Nashville, Tennessee. Bridgestone Arena was massive. 20,000 seats, backstage areas that stretched like a small city, more crew than I could count. It looked like a fortress made of steel and glass gleaming in the gray Nashville morning. I'd arrived at the crew entrance at 6 a.m., shown my papers to security, and been directed to the staff quarters. The room I'd be staying in was smaller than my studio bathroom had been. 4 bunk beds, 8 lockers, 1 small window that looked directly at the building next door. My roommate was a woman named Sarah Kim from Seattle, early 30s, who'd been working concerts for 5 years. First time, she asked, watching me try to figure out how to fit my life into a locker the size of a milk crate. That obvious, you still have hope in your eyes. She smiled not unkindly. Give it 2 days. You'll look like the rest of us, tired and counting hours until we can sleep. How bad is it really? Sarah shrugged. Depends on your assignment. Kitchen is hell, janitorial is exhausting. But backstage coordination? She raised her eyebrows. That's where you can actually use your brain. If Sophia Martinez likes you, she protects you. And you'll need protection. From what? From guests who think they own you. From managers who think they own you. From the chaos when 50,000 people all need something at once. Orientation was 4 hours of safety protocols, harassment policies that seemed optimistic at best, and a tour of the area's staff were allowed to access. The arena had a whole world. Guests never saw crew mess halls, equipment storage, tiny break rooms, and lounges where we could decompress after 18-hour shifts. By 2 p.m., I was in uniform, black pants, black shirt, staff badge that said Elena in letters so small you'd have to squint to read it. My hair was pulled back in a tight bun. I wore glasses I didn't usually need, but they helped me feel less visible, less like myself. At 3 p.m., I met Sophia Martinez. She was 50-something Puerto Rican with silver streaking through black hair pulled into a severe bun. Her eyes were sharp, the kind of eyes that saw everything and forgot nothing. Elena Martinez, she said, looking at the clipboard. Says here you have a degree in event management and 12 years of experience. Yes, ma'am. So what are you doing working backstage at a concert? I'd prepared for this question. Career change. Wanted to experience the music industry. Sophia's eyes narrowed. She didn't believe me, but she also didn't push. You'll start on the floor tonight. Trial by fire. Follow Sarah's lead, she'll show you the ropes. Don't drop anything. Don't make eye contact longer than necessary. And for God's sake, don't get involved in guest drama. We're invisible. We're efficient. We're ghosts who facilitate experiences and fix problems. Understood. Yes, ma'am. Good. Doors open at 6 p.m. Don't be late. 8:15 p.m. VIP section. The VIP area was exactly what I expected from a premium concert experience. Plush carpeting, elegant lighting, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the stage. Soft music played from hidden speakers. The air smelled like expensive cologne and entitlement. I followed Sarah, a woman who moved with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this job 1,000 times. Guest assignments are here, she said, pointing to a chart by the staff entrance. You've got Section B, boxes 5 through 10, high rollers mostly, people who paid extra for premium access. I scanned the chart. Box 7 had a note anniversary couple, champagne service. What's the usual tip at concerts? I asked. Sarah laughed. Some people tip like they're grateful for oxygen. Others act like you should pay them for the privilege of serving. You'll learn to read them fast. The first hour was chaos. I was slow, clumsy, trying to remember which corridor led where, how to open champagne bottles without making a production of it, how to smile and nod when guests complained about wait times or temperature, or the fact that their water had ice when they'd specifically requested no ice even though they definitely hadn't. By 7 p.m. I'd found a rhythm. Muscle memory from years of client events kicked in. I could read body language, anticipate needs, disappear into the background until I was needed. And then I approached box 7. The couple had their backs to me initially. I could see champagne flutes already on the table, programs unopened. The man was saying something that made the woman laugh, the kind of laugh that sounded practiced, performative. I arranged my face into the pleasant, neutral expression I'd perfected, approached with the beverage menu. Good evening, I said. I'm Elena. I'll be taking care of you tonight. May I start you with the man turned to look at me. Everything stopped. Marcus Chen, 42 years old, salt and pepper hair that he'd finally let go gray, wire-rimmed glasses, the same dimple in his left cheek when he smiled. My Marcus, except he wasn't mine, hadn't been for 6 months, and he was sitting across from a woman I recognized with the kind of sick dropping sensation you get in nightmares. Natalie Ross, my best friend from college, the woman who'd held me when my sister died. The woman who'd disappeared from my life 5 years ago with barely an explanation, just a text saying she'd needed space and a forwarding address in San Francisco I'd written to 3 times with no response. Natalie Ross, who I'd loved like a sister. Natalie Ross, who was now wearing a diamond ring on her left hand that caught the stage lights like a small mocking star. Marcus didn't recognize me. His eyes passed over me with the vague politeness people reserve for service workers seeing the uniform, not the person. But Natalie's eyes locked on mine for exactly 3 seconds. I saw recognition flicker across her face, saw her mouth open slightly, saw her hand move unconsciously to cover the ring, and then her face went smooth, deliberately blank. She didn't know me. We were strangers. With drinks, I finished, my voice steady despite the way my hands wanted to shake. We have an excellent selection of champagne to celebrate your anniversary. That sounds perfect, Marcus said, smiling at Natalie. We're celebrating more than an anniversary, actually. We just got married 3 weeks ago. This is our honeymoon. The words hit me like physical blows. Married. Honeymoon. 3 weeks ago, while I'd been packing my life into 2 suitcases, Marcus had been marrying Natalie Ross. Congratulations, I heard myself say. I'll bring that champagne right away. I turned and walked toward the staff area with movements that felt mechanical, robotic, like my body was operating on autopilot while my brain tried to process what I'd just seen. In the break room, I leaned against the stainless steel counter, breathing carefully. Sarah appeared beside me. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine, I managed. Just, it's warm out there. She gave me a skeptical look, but didn't push. Box 7's champagne is chilling in the ice bucket by Station 3. You want me to take it? No. My voice came out harder than I intended. No, I've got it. I needed to go back out there. Needed to confirm what I'd seen wasn't some stress-induced hallucination. Marcus Chen had married Natalie Ross. The 2 people who'd once been the most important people in my life, besides my sister Brianna, had somehow found each other, gotten married, and were now celebrating their honeymoon at the concert where I was working backstage. The universe had a sick sense of humor. I grabbed the champagne, arranged my face back into professional neutrality, and returned to Box 7. This time I studied them while I opened the bottle, tried to see them as they saw each other instead of as I remembered them. Marcus looked happy, relaxed in a way I'd never seen him. His hand rested on Natalie's thumb, rubbing small circles on her skin. Natalie was beautiful. She'd always been beautiful, but now there was something polished about her. Expensive highlights in her blonde hair, diamond studs that probably cost more than my entire year's salary would be, a dress that whispered designer in every elegant line. She'd done well for herself in the 5 years since she'd vanished from my life. How long have you 2 known each other? I asked as I poured, keeping my voice light, making conversation the way good staff did. Marcus smiled. We actually dated in grad school 20 years ago. Lost touch for a long time. Then fate brought us back together about a year ago. A year ago, 7 months before Marcus had left me. That's lovely, I said, the words tasting like ash. A second chance at first love. Exactly, Natalie said, speaking for the first time. Her voice was the same, slightly husky, the kind of voice that made people lean in to listen. Sometimes people come back into your life when you're finally ready for them. She was looking at me now. Really looking. Trying to decide if I knew who she was or if the universe had just played an incredibly cruel coincidence. I met her eyes. Let recognition show for just a fraction of a second. Her face went pale. Will there be anything else? I asked. No, Natalie said quickly. That's perfect. Thank you. I walked away, feeling her eyes on my back. 11:45 p.m. Staff lounge. I couldn't go back to the cramped room yet. Couldn't lie there in the dark with 7 other women and pretend I was fine. The staff lounge was small, smelled like stale coffee and desperation, but it was open 24/7 for crew who worked all hours. At midnight, it was mostly empty, a few stagehands finishing their shifts, a couple of technicians still in work clothes. I ordered a vodka tonic and sat in a corner booth pulling out my phone. Signal was weak but functional. I opened Google and typed Marcus Chen Natalie Ross wedding. The results came up immediately. Nashville Scene had covered it. Local event planner marries angel investor in intimate ceremony. There were photos. Marcus in a charcoal gray suit. Natalie in white lace, looking like something from a magazine. The caption identified her as Natalie Ross, founder of Stellar Ventures Capital, known for investing in event management and experiential marketing. I scrolled down. Found another article from 6 months ago, Stellar Ventures invests in Chen Events Management. Chen Events. Not Stellar Events, just Chen. My hands started shaking. I clicked on the Chen Events website. Modern design, beautiful portfolio. All the projects I'd started rebranded under Marcus's name alone. And there on the About page was the truth I should have seen 6 months ago. Founded by Marcus Chen with seed funding from Stellar Ventures Capital, Chen Events specializes in experiential marketing and live events building on the legacy of... I stopped reading. Veronica Castellanos had never existed. The investor who'd systematically destroyed my half of the business while buying out Marcus's had been Natalie all along. Natalie using a fake name. Natalie who'd apparently made enough money in San Francisco to come back and buy my life out from under me. Natalie who'd disappeared exactly 5 years ago right after my sister Brianna died in a car accident that I'd always blamed myself for. The vodka tonic was gone. I didn't remember drinking it. I ordered another. Rough first night. I looked up. A man in his 40s had slid into the booth across from me. Dark hair going silver at the temples lines around his eyes that suggested he smiled often but wasn't smiling now. He wore the uniform of the tech crew, black shirt name tag that said Jake. Something like that, I said. I'm Jake Morrison. I run sound for Main Stage in Section B. He gestured at my vodka. That's your second double in 10 minutes. Usually means someone's trying to forget something specific. And you care because I've been working concerts for 5 years and I can spot trouble before it starts. Woman with your education and experience doesn't end up working backstage unless something went very wrong in her life. And whatever you saw tonight in Section B made it worse. I studied him. His eyes were intelligent, kind, the kind of eyes that had seen things. You're very observant for a sound engineer. Former detective, Seattle PD, took early retirement after... He paused. After I missed something important. Someone died because I wasn't paying attention. Figured I'd be better at mixing audio than serving justice. There was a weight to those words. A guilt I recognized. So now you observe people at concerts. Now I try to catch the things I'm trained to see. Like the fact that you didn't just see difficult guests tonight. You saw someone who meant something to you. Someone you thought you'd never see again. I took a drink. What if I did? Then I'd say you have 3 options. 1, ask Sophia to transfer you to a different section so you don't have to serve them again. 2, pretend they're strangers and do your job until the festival ends in 3 days. 3, figure out why seeing them upset you so much and decide what you're going to do about it. What would you do? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Depends on what they took from you. Some things you let go, some things you fight for, and some things... He stood up, leaving his card on the table. Some things need truth before they can rest. If you need help figuring out which category your situation falls into, you know where to find me. He walked away, leaving me alone with my vodka and my questions. I pulled out my phone again. This time I searched for something I hadn't let myself look at in months. Brianna Lopez death Nashville 2020. The articles came up. Small pieces mostly. Event planner's sister dies in tragic accident. Police rule brake failure caused crash on I-40. No foul play suspected. But I remembered the garage report. The one the mechanic had mentioned to me after Brianna's funeral, quietly, like he wasn't sure he should say anything. Miss Martinez, I hate to bring this up now, but the brake line damage on your sister's car. It looked deliberate, like someone had loosened the bolts. I mentioned it to the police, but they said without proof of who did it, it was still just an accident. I'd been so deep in guilt then, guilt for refusing to drive Brianna to the venue that morning, guilt for being too busy with work, guilt for not being a better sister that I hadn't pushed, hadn't investigated, had just assumed Brianna's death was one more thing I'd failed to prevent. But what if it wasn't an accident? What if someone had deliberately sabotaged Brianna's car? And what if that someone had disappeared from Nashville, exactly 1 day after Brianna died? Natalie Ross had left town 5 years ago without explanation. And now she was here, married to my ex, celebrating a honeymoon, funded by money she'd made destroying my business. I picked up Jake's card, turned it over in my fingers. On the back, handwritten in neat print, the truth doesn't care about your timeline, but justice does. Don't wait too long. Day 2, 7:00 a.m. I didn't sleep. Lay in my bunk listening to 7 other women breathe snore shift in their sleep. Sarah had been right. I still had hope in my eyes yesterday morning. By tonight, I'd look like everyone else. tired, counting hours. But now I had a different purpose for those hours. At 6 a.m., I dressed in my uniform and went to find Sofia Martinez. She was in her office on the 3rd floor, a closet-sized space with a desk, a computer, and stacks of paperwork that suggested concerts ran on bureaucracy and caffeine. "Elena," she looked up surprised. "You're not scheduled until afternoon shift. I need to ask a favor." Her eyebrows rose. 24 hours in and you're already asking favors bold. "I need to keep serving Box 7 for the rest of the festival." Sofia set down her pen, studied me with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Box 7, the newlyweds. Anniversary couples usually only use VIP access a couple times per festival. They'll be at general admission areas most of the time. Then I need access to their schedule. I need to know where they'll be when they have reservations, what areas they're registered for. That's confidential guest information." "I know." Sofia leaned back in her chair. "Why?" I could lie, should lie, but something about Sofia's eyes made me think she'd see through anything but the truth. "Because the man in Box 7 is my ex-business partner. He destroyed my company 6 months ago, took everything I built, and married the woman he used to do it. A woman who was my best friend in college and who disappeared from my life 5 years ago, right after my sister died in a suspicious car accident." Sofia didn't blink. "And you want revenge?" "I want answers." "Same thing usually." "Maybe, but I can't get answers if I can't observe them. I need to understand what happened, why it happened, and if—" I stopped. "If what?" "If my sister's death really was an accident." Sofia was quiet for a long moment. Then she opened a drawer and pulled out a tablet. Pulled up a file. "Marcus Chen and Natalie Chen. Suite 847 Grand Hyatt, Nashville. Paid $28,000 for the 3-day festival package, all-inclusive premium access." She scrolled. "They have dinner reservations in the VIP lounge tonight at 8 p.m. Tomorrow they're booked for the acoustic session. Day after they're attending the headliner show." She turned the tablet toward me. "I shouldn't be showing you this. If anyone finds out I gave you access to guest information, I'll be fired." "Why are you doing it?" Sofia's expression hardened. "Because 10 years ago I left my husband, took my daughter, and ran in the middle of the night. Came to work these festivals because it was the only place he couldn't follow me." She paused. "He'd been beating me for 5 years. I'd been making excuses for 5 years. And then one night my daughter asked me why I let Daddy hurt me. She was 7 years old and she thought it was normal." She closed the tablet. "I got out, started over, built a new life where I had power, even if it was just power over scheduling and logistics. So when I see someone who's been destroyed by someone they trusted, I help. But Elena, yes, don't do anything stupid. Don't confront them publicly. Don't cause a scene. And for God's sake, don't do anything that'll make me regret helping you." "I won't." "Good. Because if you do, I'll throw you out myself." She pulled up a secondary screen. "This is the guest activity log, updated in real time by our floor staff. I'm giving you view-only access on your employee portal. You can see where Marcus and Natalie check in for sessions, which areas they access, even which wing they're in at any given time based on their badge scans. This seems like a privacy violation." "It's a security feature. We need to know where guests are in case of emergencies." Sofia smiled thinly. "You're just using it for personal research." 8:00 p.m. VIP lounge. Marcus and Natalie were already seated when I arrived for my shift. Box 7, same premium spot, same champagne flutes. This time I was prepared. I'd pulled my hair back even tighter, put on the glasses even though they made everything slightly blurry, kept my head down as I approached. "Good evening," I said. "May I start you with drinks?" Marcus barely glanced up. "Whiskey sour for me, and she'll have a glass of the Chardonnay, the Sonoma Cutrer, if you have it." "We do. Excellent choice." I turned to go, but Natalie spoke. "Wait." I stopped, turned back. Natalie was staring at me now, really staring. Her eyes moved over my face, my hair, my hands looking for confirmation of what she suspected. "Have we met before?" she asked. "I don't think so, ma'am." "You look familiar." "I have one of those faces." I smiled blandly. "I'll get those drinks for you." I walked away, feeling her eyes on my back again. In the staff area, Sarah grabbed my arm. "What did you do?" "Nothing." "Why?" "Because that woman in Box 7 is watching you like you're about to poison her drinks." Did you do something to piss her off? Not yet, I muttered. 10:30 p.m. Loading dock. I couldn't go back to the staff quarters. Couldn't face Sarah's questions about why I looked like I'd been punched. The loading dock was supposed to be staff only, but security was lax at night. I found a corner behind some equipment cases where crew sometimes came to make phone calls without being overheard. The Nashville skyline stretched out before me. City lights, traffic sounds, stars that looked close enough to touch. I pulled out my phone and opened the employee portal Sophia had given me access to. Checked the guest activity log. Marcus and Natalie had left the VIP lounge at 9:45 p.m. Scanned their badges at the north exit at 9:47 p.m. Scanned into their hotel at 9:52 p.m. They were in their room now, probably having champagne on their balcony, probably laughing about their day, probably planning tomorrow's sessions, probably not thinking at all about Elena Martinez, who was working backstage while her life crumbled around her for the second time. I opened my photos, found the one picture I'd kept from the old days, me, Natalie, and Brianna at the Ryman Auditorium. We were 25, laughing, celebrating Brianna's first big event coordination job. The three of us against the world. Brianna had died 4 years after that photo was taken. Natalie had disappeared the day after Brianna's funeral. And I'd spent 5 years blaming myself for Brianna's death, never once questioning if someone else might be responsible. I heard footsteps, turned to see Jake approaching with 2 beers. "Thought I'd find you here," he said, offering me one. "Sophia told me about your situation, said I should keep an eye on you. She talks a lot for someone who's supposed to keep secrets. She trusts me, and she thinks you might need an ally." He leaned against the railing beside me. "So, you think your friend Natalie killed your sister?" "I don't know. Maybe. The timing is suspicious." "What happened to your sister, I mean?" I took a drink. "Brianna died 5 years ago. Car accident on I-40. Police said her brakes failed, catastrophic failure, both main and emergency systems. The mechanic said it looked like someone had loosened the bolts deliberately, but without proof of who did it, the police ruled it an accident. And Natalie left town the day after the funeral, just vanished. Sent me one text saying she needed space to process her grief, then blocked my number. I wrote to her address in San Francisco 3 times. Never got a response." Jake was quiet, thinking. Why would Natalie want to hurt your sister? That was the question I'd been avoiding. "I don't know," I admitted. Brianna and Natalie were friends. Not as close as Natalie and I were, but they got along. I can't think of any reason Natalie would want Brianna dead. Unless Brianna knew something Natalie needed to keep quiet. The words hung in the air between us. Like what? Like the fact that Natalie was already involved with Marcus 5 years ago. Maybe Brianna found out. Maybe she threatened to tell you. Maybe Natalie decided to eliminate the problem. My stomach churned. That's insane. Is it? Jake turned to face me. Think about it. Natalie leaves town the day after Brianna dies. 5 years later, she comes back with enough money to destroy your business and marry your ex-partner. That's not coincidence, Elena. That's a plan. But why, if Natalie wanted Marcus, why not just tell me? Why destroy my entire life? Because she's not just taking Marcus. She's taking everything. Your business, your reputation, your future. She's erasing you. Jake paused. In my experience, people only do that when they're covering up something big, something they can't risk you discovering. I thought about Natalie's face tonight when she'd recognized me. The flash of fear, the way she'd gone pale. She wasn't just surprised to see me, she was scared. "I need to get into their hotel suite," I said suddenly. "Absolutely not. I need to see if Natalie kept anything, any evidence of what happened 5 years ago. Elena, breaking into a guest's room is a crime. You'll be arrested. Only if I get caught." I met his eyes. "You said you missed something important once. Someone died because you weren't paying attention. Well, my sister died, and I spent 5 years not asking the right questions. I'm not making that mistake again." Jake stared at me for a long moment. Then he sighed. "If, and this is a massive if I were to help you hypothetically, what would you be looking for?" "Anything that connects Natalie to Brianna's death. Emails, messages, a diary, I don't know. But Natalie's the type who keeps records, who documents things. If she was involved in Brianna's accident, she'd have kept something. as insurance or guilt or something. That's a lot of assumptions. I know, but I have to try. Jake finished his beer. Tomorrow night is the acoustic session. Most premium guests book those 3 hours in the venue. If Marcus and Natalie are there, we'd have access to their suite while it's empty. I'd have access. I know the hotel security supervisor. She owes me a favor. You would wait in the service corridor and I would go in alone to look for anything obviously suspicious. 5 minutes max. If I find something, great. If not, we walk away and never try this again. Why would you do this for me? Jake looked out at the skyline. Because the person who died when I wasn't paying attention was my partner. Someone was threatening her. She told me. She filed reports. And I was too busy with other cases to take it seriously. Thought she was being paranoid. His voice went flat. She was killed in a parking garage 3 months later. The suspect made it look like a mugging gone wrong. By the time I connected the dots, he'd left the state. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just don't make my mistake. If you think someone hurt your sister, don't let them get away with it just because investigating is hard or scary or risky. He turned to me. But we do this smart, careful. And if we don't find anything tomorrow, you let it go. Agreed? I nodded, even though I knew I was lying. I would never let this go. Day 3, 6:45 a.m. I woke up to Sarah shaking my shoulder. You talk in your sleep, she said. Kept saying Brianna and check the brakes. Nightmare. Something like that. I dressed quickly, checked the guest activity log. Marcus and Natalie had registered for the acoustic session 3 hours, starting at 7 p.m. Perfect. At 6:30 p.m., I watched from the staff corridor as guests lined up for the acoustic performance. Marcus and Natalie were there dressed casually, looking excited and carefree. They scanned into the venue at 6:55 p.m. At 7:15 p.m., Jake appeared beside me with a key card. Hotel master access. We have until 9 p.m. before they might leave early. That gives us 45 minutes. Let's do it. Suite 847 at the Grand Hyatt was everything you'd expect from a $28,000 package. King bed with city views, separate sitting area, marble bathroom, champagne chilling in an ice bucket. And everywhere were signs of Marcus and Natalie's new life together. Photos in silver frames on the dresser. Marcus and Natalie at their wedding. Marcus and Natalie hiking somewhere mountainous. Marcus and Natalie at a restaurant I recognized, the one in Nashville, where he and I used to celebrate closed deals. They'd already made memories in all the places that used to be ours. What are we looking for? Jake asked, already moving toward the desk where a laptop sat closed. Anything that mentions Brianna Lopez, or Nashville 5 years ago, or car accidents. I opened the closet, started checking jacket pockets. Natalie's the organized type. If she kept evidence, it'll be labeled filed stored properly. That's a weird trait for a killer. She's not a killer. I paused. At least I don't think she meant to kill anyone. But if she did something to Brianna's car, she'd document it. She'd need to remember exactly what she did in case anyone ever asked questions. Jake had opened the laptop. Password protected. I'm not a hacker. Try her birthday. April 15th, 1987. He typed, shook his head. No. Try Marcus's. November 3rd, 1983. Nothing. I moved to the nightstand, opened the drawers. Found a book, The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. Inside the cover, an inscription in Marcus's handwriting, for Natalie, to second chances and new beginnings. Always M. My hands shook. I put the book back. Behind me, Jake said, Elena, come here. He was crouched by the bed, pulling something from underneath. A small wooden box about the size of a jewelry case with a brass clasp. Found it pushed against the wall. Almost missed it. I took the box. It wasn't locked. I opened it. Inside, photographs. Old ones printed on actual photo paper. Marcus and Natalie in college looking impossibly young. Natalie with a slight baby bump, Marcus's hand on her stomach. An ultrasound image with baby Chen, 18 weeks, written in marker. Beneath the photos, a small red USB drive on a keychain that said Backup, BL. BL, Brianna Lopez. Take it, Jake said. We don't have time to look at it here. I grabbed the USB, started to close the box, and then I saw the edge of a notebook underneath the photos. I pulled it out. A journal. Small leather bound, filled with Natalie's distinctive handwriting. I opened to a random page. Read June 2020. It's been 3 weeks since Brianna died. Marcus still doesn't know what I did. He thinks it was an accident. He thinks I'm grieving with him for him beside him, but I'm not grieving for Brianna. I'm grieving for myself, for the person I was before I became a killer. The words punched the air from my lungs. Jake, take it. Take everything. We need to leave. I shoved the journal and USB into the pockets of my uniform, put the box back under the bed exactly as we'd found it. We were at the door when we heard voices in the hallway. Natalie's voice. I forgot my phone charger. I'll be right back. Marcus's voice fainter. Want me to come with you? No, you save our seats. I'll only be a minute. Jake grabbed my arm, pulled me toward the bathroom. We barely made it inside before the suite door opened. Through the crack in the bathroom door, I could see Natalie enter. She went straight to the nightstand, grabbed a charger, and was turning to leave when she stopped. Looked at the bed. Looked underneath it. Her face went pale. She dropped to her knees, pulled out the wooden box, opened it, saw the journal was gone. No, she whispered. No, no, no. She grabbed her phone, dialed with shaking hands. Marcus, don't leave the venue. Someone's been in our room. Someone took... She paused, listening. No, I'm serious. The journal. The one I told you I'd destroyed. It's gone. Another pause. I don't know who but Marcus if someone reads it. They'll know what I did. They'll know about Brianna. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it. I'm coming back, Natalie said. We need to search the hotel. We need to find it before... She stopped mid-sentence, turned slowly to look at the bathroom door, at the crack where I was watching her. Our eyes met. For one frozen second, we both understood everything. Natalie knew I'd taken the journal, and I knew she was guilty. She lunged toward the bathroom door. Jake shoved it open first, pushing her backward. She stumbled, caught herself on the bed. Stop! She screamed. Security, someone help! I ran. Out of the suite, into the hallway, Jake right behind me. We hit the stairwell, taking steps 2 at a time, heading down toward the service corridors where we could disappear into the maze of passages guests never saw. Behind us, I could hear Natalie's voice echoing in the stairwell. Elena, I know it's you. We need to talk. We burst through the service entrance on the 2nd floor. The hallway was full of housekeepers, maintenance workers, people who didn't even glance at 2 more crew members running like their lives depended on it. Jake pulled me into a storage closet. We pressed against shelving units filled with linens, breathing hard, listening. Footsteps in the hallway. Running. Slowing. Natalie's voice. Did 2 staff members just come through here? A man and a woman? A housekeeper's voice, bored. Staff members are always running through here, ma'am. You need to return to the guest areas. This section is employees only. But I need to... Ma'am, guest areas. Now. Footsteps retreating. Reluctantly. Jake and I stayed frozen for another 5 minutes. Then he pulled out his phone, typed something, showed me the screen. Don't go back to your quarters. She knows where you sleep. Stay in public areas until I can figure out a plan. I nodded. He opened the closet door carefully. The hallway was empty except for the normal bustle of crew preparing for tomorrow. Meet me at the staff lounge tonight, he whispered. Midnight. Don't talk to anyone until then. And Elena. Yeah. Read that journal. Fast, because whatever's in it is worth killing for. 12:00 p.m. Staff lounge. I couldn't eat. Sat in a corner of the mess hall with a tray of food. I wasn't touching the journal, and USB burning like hot coals in my pockets. Around me, crew members ate and complained and laughed. Normal people living normal lives. I pulled out the journal carefully. Opened it under the table, reading while pretending to eat. March 2020. I saw Marcus today at the event planning summit in Memphis. It's been 15 years since we were together. 15 years since I lost the baby and ran away because I couldn't handle his grief on top of mine. He looks good. Older. Successful. He was there with his business partner, Elena Martinez. I remember Elena from college. Brianna Lopez's older sister. We were friends once before I disappeared. Before everything fell apart. Marcus introduced us like we'd never met. Maybe he doesn't remember. Maybe he's trying to forget. But I remember everything. And seeing him again, all those old feelings came back. The ones I thought I'd buried. April 2020. Marcus and I have been emailing. Just professional at first, talking about potential investments in event management. But it's become more. He told me he and Elena are together. Have been for years. That they built stellar events from nothing. He also told me he's not happy. that Elena is distant, that she's been obsessed with some guilt over her sister Brianna and won't talk about it. I didn't know Elena and Brianna were that close. In college, Elena always seemed too busy with school to pay attention to her younger sister. Maybe that's why she feels guilty now. Marcus says he feels like he's living with a ghost, that Elena is physically present but emotionally gone. I told him I understood. I told him I'd felt that way too after the miscarriage, that sometimes grief makes us disappear into ourselves. I should have stopped there, should have stayed professional. But I didn't. I told him I still thought about us sometimes, about what we could have been. He said he thought about it too. April 19th, 2020, Marcus and I slept together in a hotel in Memphis, while Elena was in Nashville working on a project. It was a mistake. We both knew it was a mistake, but it also felt right, like finishing something we'd started 20 years ago. He said he was going to tell Elena, that he couldn't keep lying to her. I panicked, told him to wait, to give me time to figure things out, because if Elena found out, she'd hate me, and I couldn't lose her friendship again, not after I'd just found my way back to Marcus. Marcus agreed to wait a week, just 1 week, but then Brianna found out. I stopped reading, turned the page with hands that shook. April 25th, 2020. Brianna Lopez called me today, said she needed to talk. We met at a coffee shop on Broadway. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. I know about you and Marcus, she said. He told Elena he had a client meeting yesterday, but I saw his car at the Omni Hotel downtown, and I saw you leave the same hotel 2 hours later. I tried to deny it, but Brianna was smart. She'd already put the pieces together. Elena is my sister, Brianna said. She's been through hell since our mom got sick. She's been holding everything together, the business, the family, her own grief. And now you're sleeping with her boyfriend. I told her it was complicated, that Marcus and I had history, that Elena and Marcus were already falling apart. Brianna didn't care. She said if I didn't end things with Marcus immediately, she'd tell Elena everything. I begged her for time, just a few days, to figure out how to tell Elena myself. Brianna said no. She said Elena deserved the truth now, not later, not when I felt ready, now. She gave me until Monday, said if I hadn't told Elena by then, she would. Monday was April 27th, 3 days away. The next entry made my blood run cold. April 26th, 2020. I did something terrible. I knew Brianna was driving to a venue in Murfreesboro this morning for an event setup. She'd mentioned it at the coffee shop, said she needed to leave early because her car was making a weird noise and she wanted to get it checked before the drive. I knew where she parked. Same garage near the apartment she shared with roommates in East Nashville. I brought tools. A wrench. Told myself I was just going to look. Just going to see if there was really something wrong with the car. But when I got there, when I saw her car sitting in that empty garage at 6 a.m., I started thinking, if Brianna's car broke down on the way to Murfreesboro, she'd miss her event. She'd have to stay home. She'd have to postpone telling Elena. That would give me more time. Time to figure out how to end things with Marcus without losing everything. I didn't mean to do real damage. I just loosened a few bolts on the brake line. Not enough to make the brakes fail completely. Just enough to make them less responsive. Enough that she'd notice something was wrong and take the car to a mechanic instead of driving to Murfreesboro. I thought it was a small thing. A minor inconvenience that would buy me a few days. I didn't know she'd keep driving anyway. I didn't know she'd get on the highway with failing brakes. I didn't know I couldn't read anymore. Couldn't breathe. The mess hall around me continued its normal chaos. People eating, laughing, living. And I was holding proof that my best friend had murdered my sister. Not intentionally, but murdered her nonetheless. I flipped to the end of the journal. One final entry, June 2020. I left Nashville. Couldn't stay. Couldn't look at Elena's face knowing what I'd done. Marcus doesn't know. He thinks Brianna's death was a tragic accident. He thinks I'm grieving along with Elena. But I'm not grieving for Brianna. I'm grieving for myself. For the person I was before I became a killer. I thought about turning myself in. Telling the police what I did. But I'm a coward. So instead I ran. I went to San Francisco, made money, built a life, tried to forget. But I never forgot. And now I'm coming back. Because I owe Marcus a second chance. I owe us a second chance. And if that means destroying Elena's life to get it, maybe that's the price I pay for Brianna's death. Maybe that's my penance. The journal ended there. I sat in the staff lounge holding proof of Natalie Ross's guilt and understood finally why she'd come back. Not for love, for absolution. She'd convinced herself that if she and Marcus could be together, if they could build the life they'd lost 20 years ago, then Brianna's death would have meant something, would have served a purpose. Natalie had bought my company, destroyed my career, and married my ex-boyfriend, not because she hated me, but because erasing me was the only way she could live with what she'd done. If Elena Martinez didn't exist anymore, then Brianna Lopez's death would just be unfortunate collateral damage in a love story. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, opened the employee portal, checked the guest activity log. Marcus and Natalie had returned from the acoustic session at 9:47 p.m. They'd scanned into their suite at 10:03 p.m. They'd been there for 10 minutes. Then Marcus had scanned out alone at 10:13 p.m., headed to the main office, to hotel security. Natalie was in their suite, alone, looking for me. My phone buzzed. Text from Jake. Natalie filed a theft report with hotel security, claimed someone stole a family heirloom from her suite. They're reviewing camera footage now. You need to disappear until we figure this out. But I didn't want to disappear. I wanted Natalie to know I had the journal. I wanted her to know that I knew the truth. I wanted to watch her face when she realized that everything she'd built on my sister's grave was about to collapse. I typed a response to Jake. Tell security I'll turn myself in. But I need one thing first. I need to talk to Natalie, alone, tonight. Tell her to meet me backstage at the loading dock at 2 a.m. if she wants the journal back. Jake responded immediately. That's insane. Don't do this. She killed my sister, Jake. I need to look her in the eye and make her say it out loud. Then do it with security present, with witnesses. Don't meet a murderer alone in the middle of the night. I stared at his message. He was right. Of course he was right. But I didn't want right. I wanted closure. I wanted Natalie to feel one fraction of the pain I'd felt for 5 years. I'll be careful, I typed. Just set up the meeting. I stood up, threw away my untouched food, and walked out of the mess hall. I had 8 hours until 2 a.m. 8 hours to decide what I was going to do with the truth I'd found. 8 hours to decide if I wanted justice or revenge. 6:00 p.m. Tech booth. I'd spent the afternoon hiding in places guests never went, the costume storage on sub-level 1, the staff library that was really just a closet with old magazines, the sound booth observation platform where the noise was so loud you couldn't think. Couldn't think was good. Because when I thought all I saw was Brianna's face the last time I'd seen her alive. She'd called me that morning, April 27th, 2020, asked if I could drive her to Murfreesboro for her event setup, because her car was making a weird grinding noise. I'd said no. I had a client meeting. An important pitch for a corporate retreat that could make Stellar Events a household name in Nashville event planning. Just take your car, I'd told her. It's probably nothing. Maybe some dust on the brake pads. You sure it sounds pretty bad? Brianna, I can't cancel this meeting. I've been preparing for 3 months. Take your car. If you're really worried, stop at a mechanic on the way. She'd paused. Then okay, I understand. Good luck with the pitch, Elena. I love you. Love you too. Those were the last words I'd said to my sister. 3 hours later, she was dead. Brake failure on I-40, just past the Davidson County line. She'd hit the center divider going 70 miles an hour. The impact killed her instantly. And I'd spent 5 years believing it was my fault for not driving her, when the real killer had been the woman I'd trusted most in the world. Finally, at 5:30 p.m., I pulled out the USB drive, stared at it. What else had Natalie kept on here? I found an empty tech office. Sound engineers rotated shifts, so there was always an unused computer. I plugged in the drive. 7 video files, all dated from April 2020. I clicked on the first one. Video file 1, April 20th, 2020. The footage was grainy shot from inside a car. Dashboard camera, I realized. Natalie's car. The timestamp said 6:47 a.m. The location showed a parking garage in East Nashville, the one near Brianna's apartment. I watched Natalie's hands enter the frame, watched her check her mirrors, watched her grab a small toolkit from the passenger seat. Then she got out of the car. The camera kept recording. I could see her walk toward another car, Brianna's blue Honda Civic. She looked around once, twice. The garage was empty. She knelt by the front wheel. The angle wasn't perfect, but I could see enough. See her open the toolkit. See her select a wrench. See her reach under the car toward the brake line. The video had no sound, but I didn't need it. I could see everything. Natalie worked for maybe 3 minutes. Then she stood up, brushed off her hands, looked around again, walked back to her car. The video ended. Video file 02, April 20th, 2020. Same parking garage. 20 minutes later. This time Natalie had moved her car, parked it farther away with a better angle on Brianna's Honda. I watched my sister emerge from her apartment building at 7:35 a.m. She was carrying a coffee in her work bag, wearing jeans and that vintage band t-shirt she loved. She looked so alive. Brianna walked to her car, got in, started the engine. I saw her frown, probably noticing the grinding noise was worse. She sat there for a moment. I could see her on her phone, probably calling me, probably hearing me say, "Just take your car. It's probably nothing." Brianna put her phone down, made a decision. She backed out of the parking spot and drove away. The video ended. Video file 03, April 27th, 2020. This one was different. Shot from Natalie's car again, but this time on the highway. I-40 eastbound. Natalie was following Brianna, staying back far enough that Brianna wouldn't notice, but close enough that the camera could capture everything. The timestamp said 9:23 a.m. I watched Brianna's Honda in the distance. Normal driving, nothing unusual. Then, around mile marker 217, Brianna's brake lights came on. Came on, stayed on. The car started weaving, just slightly at first, then more dramatically as Brianna realized she couldn't slow down. I could see her brake lights flashing frantically. On, off, on, off. She was pumping the brakes, trying to engage the emergency brake. Nothing was working. The car swerved into the right lane, then the left. Brianna was trying to use the lanes to slow down, but traffic was too heavy. Cars honked, swerved away. Natalie's car slowed, pulled to the shoulder. The video captured everything. Brianna's Honda veered toward the center divider, hit it at an angle. The car spun once, twice, then flipped. The sound was on in this video. I heard the crash, heard the screaming of metal and glass, heard Natalie's voice from inside her car. Oh God, Brianna, I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd... The video ended. I sat staring at the screen, my whole body shaking. Natalie had recorded everything, had kept it all these years. Why? Why would someone film their own crime? Why would they keep the evidence? Video file 04, June 2020. This video was shorter. Shot on a phone, not a dash cam. Natalie's face filled the screen. She looked awful, red-rimmed eyes, unwashed hair, sitting in what looked like a hotel room. "My name is Natalie Rivera," she said to the camera. "It's June 15th, 2020. I'm recording this because I need someone to know the truth, even if that someone is just future me." She took a shaky breath. "I killed Brianna Lopez. Not on purpose. I didn't mean for her to die, but I sabotaged her car and she died because of it. That makes me a killer." Tears were streaming down her face now. "I've thought about turning myself in. Every day I think about it, but I'm too much of a coward. So instead I'm leaving Nashville, leaving Marcus, leaving Elena, leaving everything." She wiped her eyes. "I'm keeping these videos as, I don't know, punishment proof. So I never forget what I did. If I ever start to feel happy again, if I ever think I deserve a second chance, I can watch these and remember that I'm a killer, that I took someone's sister, someone's daughter, someone's friend." She leaned closer to the camera. "If you're watching this future, Natalie, remember, you don't get to be happy. You don't get to forget. This is your penance. Live with it or end it, but don't you dare pretend it didn't happen." The video ended. I closed the laptop, sat in the silence of the empty tech office. Natalie had kept the videos as punishment, as a reminder, as insurance against her own capacity for self-forgiveness. She'd known she was a coward, known she'd run away instead of facing consequences. So she'd created her own private prison, a USB drive full of evidence she could never delete, never escape. But then something had changed. Somewhere between June 2020 and now, Natalie had decided she did deserve a second chance after all. had decided that destroying my life was worth it if it meant she and Marcus could be together, had decided that her happiness was more important than my sister's life. My phone buzzed. Text from Jake. Natalie agreed to meet you. 2 a.m. loading dock. But Elena, she also told Marcus everything. He knows about the journal. He knows you have it. He's looking for you too. What did she tell him? I don't know, but he went to security an hour ago. Asked them to detain you if they find you. Said you stole valuable personal property and might be dangerous. Dangerous? She's the one who killed someone. They don't know that. All they know is that you broke into a guest suite and stole something. You're the criminal here officially. He was right. From security's perspective, I was a thief. Natalie was a victim. Just like 5 years ago when Brianna died and everyone assumed it was an accident. Natalie had gotten away with murder because nobody asked the right questions. I couldn't let her get away with it again. I'm going to the meeting, I texted back. If I don't come back, make sure the videos get to the Nashville PD. Elena, promise me Jake. A long pause. Then, I promise, but I'm coming with you. You're not doing this alone. 10:00 p.m. VIP Lounge. I had one more shift to work. Sophia had made that very clear when I'd finally shown up at her office to apologize for missing afternoon coordination. I don't care what's happening in your personal life, she'd said, her voice cold. You miss another shift, you're fired. And fired means you get escorted off property and banned from the venue. Understood? Yes, ma'am. Good. You're working the VIP lounge tonight. And Elena Box 7 requested you specifically. My blood went cold. What man? The newlyweds. Natalie Chen. She asked if you could serve them tonight. Said you'd provided such excellent service that she wanted to make sure she got the same coordinator. Natalie wanted me at her table, wanted to talk to me where I couldn't run, where I'd have to maintain my professional mask and pretend everything was normal. What did you tell her? I asked. I said yes, because that's what we do in hospitality. We give guests what they want. Sophia's eyes narrowed. Unless you want to tell me why that's a problem. I couldn't. Not without admitting I'd broken into a guest's suite and stolen their property. It's not a problem. I lied. 8:15 p.m. Box 7. Daniel and Natalie were already seated when I arrived. Marcus looked tense. Natalie looked calm. Too calm. Good evening, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. What can I get you to drink? Actually, Natalie said, we'd like to talk to you for a moment. Sit down. I'm working. Sit. Her voice was quiet but firm. We know who you are, Elena. We know you've been watching us. We know you broke into our suite today. So let's stop pretending you're just a coordinator. I glanced around. The lounge was full. Other staff were bustling past. Nobody was paying attention to Box 7. I pulled out a chair. Sat. Marcus was staring at me like I was a ghost. Elena, Jesus Christ. What are you doing here? I work here. You work? He stopped. After the firm collapsed, you ended up working at concerts. After you and your wife destroyed my firm, you mean? Yes. Natalie flinched. We didn't destroy anything. You chose to fight the restructuring instead of accepting that the business had outgrown. Don't. My voice was sharp enough that people at nearby tables looked over. I lowered it. Don't you dare pretend this was about business. You came back to Nashville specifically to take everything from me. The firm, my reputation, my future. And you did it because you're a coward who can't live with what you did to Brianna. Marcus's face went white. What are you talking about? She didn't tell you. I looked at Natalie. You said you told him everything. I told him about the journal, Natalie said carefully. About my feelings of guilt regarding Brianna's death. But Elena, what's in that journal is private. It's my way of processing grief. It's a confession. I pulled out my phone, clicked on video file 03, and turned the screen toward Marcus. Watch. For 3 minutes, nobody spoke. Marcus stared at the phone screen, watching Brianna's car lose control, watching it flip, watching his wife film the whole thing. When it ended, he looked up at Natalie with an expression I couldn't read. You killed her, he said. You actually killed Brianna Lopez. I didn't mean to kid. You sabotaged her brakes. You followed her. You filmed her dying. His voice was rising now. Natalie, what the fuck did you do? I was trying to buy time. Natalie's calm mask was cracking. Brianna was going to tell Elena about us, about the affair. I just wanted her car to break down so she'd miss her event, so I'd have a few more days to figure things out. So you tried to kill her? No, I just loosened a few bolts. I thought she'd notice the brakes weren't working right and take the car to a mechanic. I didn't think she'd get on the highway. I didn't think she'd keep driving when... But she did. Marcus stood up. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. She did keep driving, and she died. And you just... What ran away kept it secret for 5 years while I mourned her. You were mourning Elena's sister, not Brianna. Natalie was crying now. You barely knew Brianna, but I knew her. She was my friend, and I killed her. Do you think I don't live with that every single day? I think you lived with it pretty well, I said quietly. Well enough to come back and destroy my life. Well enough to marry Marcus and go on a honeymoon. Well enough to pretend you deserve happiness. Natalie turned to me. Her face was wet with tears, but her eyes were hard. I don't deserve happiness. I know that. But Marcus does. And he couldn't be happy with you. You were too buried in grief, too absent. He needed someone who could actually see him. So you gave him that, the woman who killed his girlfriend's sister. He didn't know. He knows now. I stood up. And now you need to decide what you're going to do about it. We're meeting at 2 a.m. at the loading dock. You, me, Marcus, and the truth. No more lies, no more running. You're going to tell me exactly what happened. And then we're going to figure out what justice looks like for Brianna. I walked away before either of them could respond. Behind me, I heard Marcus say, Natalie, I need you to tell me right now. Did you come back to Nashville to be with me, or did you come back to make sure Elena never found out what you did? I didn't hear her answer. 11:30 p.m. Staff lounge. Jake was waiting for me with 2 shots of whiskey on the table. You look like you need these, he said. I took both shots, one after the other. The burn felt good, felt real. I showed Marcus the video, he said, of Brianna's crash, of Natalie filming it. How did he react? Like a man who just found out his wife is a murderer. I laughed, but it had no humor in it. He looked devastated, like his whole world just collapsed. Good. He deserves that. Does he? I asked. Marcus didn't kill anyone. He's just guilty of being weak, of choosing comfort over truth, of being so desperate for someone to see him that he didn't ask questions about why Natalie suddenly had millions to invest in event firms. That's more than weakness, Elena. That's willful ignorance. Maybe. Or maybe Marcus was just human. Just someone who wanted to believe that good things could happen to him without a cost. We all wanted to believe that. What's your plan for tonight? Jake asked. You're not actually going to meet Natalie alone, are you? You said you'd be there. I said I'd be nearby. But Elena, think about this. Natalie has already killed one person to protect her secrets. If she thinks you're going to turn her in, if she thinks you're going to destroy her life the way she destroyed yours, what's to stop her from pushing you off the loading dock and claiming it was an accident? Witnesses, you, security cameras. The loading dock has blind spots. I checked. There are 3 sections where cameras don't reach. He pulled out his phone, showed me a map. Here, here, and here. If Natalie wanted to hurt you, she'd do it in one of those spots. Then we make sure the meeting happens in a camera zone. Or, Jake said slowly, we don't have the meeting at all. We take the journal and the videos to my contact at Nashville PD. Let them handle it. Natalie gets arrested when we turn over the evidence. She faces trial. Justice happens. It was the smart choice, the safe choice. But I didn't want safe. I wanted to look Natalie in the eye and make her say it. Make her admit that she'd valued her own comfort more than my sister's life. I wanted her to feel what I'd felt for 5 years, the crushing weight of guilt, the knowledge that you failed someone who trusted you. I wanted her to suffer. I'm going to the meeting, I said, with or without you. Jake studied me for a long moment. Then he sighed. Fine, but we're doing this smart. I'll be there hidden. If things go wrong, if she tries anything, I'll intervene. And Elena, yeah, don't go near the railings. Don't give her any opportunities. And don't expect her to break down and confess. People like Natalie don't confess unless they have no other choice. 1:45 a.m. Service corridor. I changed out of my uniform, put on jeans and a dark hoodie, tied my hair back. If this was going to be my last night at this venue, either because security arrested me or because Natalie did something desperate, I wanted to face it as myself. Not as Elena the coordinator, but as Elena Martinez, event planner sister survivor. The venue was quiet at this hour. Most crew had gone home. The only people awake were security making rounds and late-night maintenance cleaning up after 50,000 guests. I took the back stairs to the loading dock, the highest access point usually used for equipment deliveries. At night, it was deserted. The Nashville skyline stretched out before me, city lights reflecting off the Cumberland River. No crowds, just stillness. Jake was already there, sitting on the equipment crate in the shadows. He nodded when he saw me, didn't speak. I walked to the railing, looked down at the pavement 3 stories below. It would be so easy, I thought, to just let go, to give up, to stop fighting. 5 years of grief, 6 months of poverty, and now this proof that my sister's death was murder, not accident, that I'd been blaming myself for something I couldn't have prevented. It should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like drowning. I don't know if I can do this, I said quietly. Jake appeared beside me. Then don't. We can leave right now. Go to the police. Let the system handle it. The system? I laughed bitterly. The system ruled Brianna's death an accident 5 years ago. The system let Natalie walk away without ever asking questions. The system destroyed my business and left me working backstage at concerts. Why would I trust the system now? Because the alternative is becoming someone you're not, Jake said. I know what you're thinking, Elena. I know what revenge feels like, how seductive it is, how right it seems. You said you missed something, that someone died because you weren't paying attention. My partner, Sarah. His voice was rough. She was being stalked by someone from a case we'd worked. He'd show up wherever she was, call her at weird hours. She filed reports. I looked into it, did the bare minimum because I was busy with other investigations. Told her to get a restraining order. Thought that would be enough. It wasn't. 3 months later, he cornered her in a parking garage, made it look like a robbery. By the time I realized what had happened, he'd left the state. Jake turned to look at me. I spent 2 years tracking him down, 2 years planning what I'd do when I found him, how I'd make him suffer the way Sarah suffered. Did you find him? Yeah, in Memphis, living under a fake name, working as a security guard if you can believe it. Jake's hands gripped the railing. I followed him for a week. Learned his routine, figured out when he'd be alone. I had a plan, was going to make him confess, record it, then turn him in. What stopped you? I asked myself what Sarah would want, and I knew she wouldn't want me to become obsessed with revenge, wouldn't want me to throw away my career, my future just to make her death mean something. He paused. So I gathered all my evidence and turned it over to Memphis PD instead. He's serving 25 years. That's justice. It's closure, Jake corrected. Justice is just a word we use when we're too tired to keep fighting. But closure, that's when you can finally breathe again. When the past stops choking you. Behind us, footsteps. I turned. Natalie stood at the entrance to the loading dock, alone. She looked smaller than she had at dinner, fragile. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup. She wore jeans and a sweater that looked like it belonged to Marcus. I came alone, she said, like you asked. Where's Marcus? In our suite. He doesn't want to see me right now. Her voice cracked. He said he needs time to process, to figure out if he can live with what I did. Can he? Natalie's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. Probably not. Who could? She walked slowly to the railing, keeping distance between us. Jake had moved back into the shadows, but I knew he was watching. So, Natalie said, here we are. What now? Now you tell me the truth, all of it. Why you really came back to Nashville, why you destroyed my business, why you married Marcus, and why you kept those videos for 5 years. Natalie was quiet for a long moment. Then she started talking. I kept the videos because I'm a coward, she said simply. I couldn't turn myself in. Couldn't face prison or trial or your grief, but I also couldn't let myself forget. So I created my own punishment. Every time I felt happy, every time I thought about moving on, I'd watch those videos. I'd remember what I did. I'd remind myself that I didn't deserve peace. So you lived in San Francisco, made money, built a life. I built a prison, Natalie corrected. A very comfortable, very lucrative prison. I invested in startups, made good money, but I didn't have friends, didn't date, didn't do anything except work and watch those videos and hate myself. Sounds lonely. It was, but it was what I deserved. She wiped her eyes. And then last year I saw an article about Marcus, about Chen Events winning some award, and I thought, what if you could have your happy ending after all? What if I could fix what I broke? Natalie said. Marcus and I were supposed to be together. We were supposed to have a baby and build a life. But I lost the baby and ran away and ruined everything. And when I saw that article, I thought maybe if I could go back. If I could restart that timeline, then Brianna's death would have meant something, would have served a purpose. Brianna's death served a purpose. Are you fucking kidding me? I know how that sounds. You killed my sister so you could steal my boyfriend and feel better about yourself. That's what you're saying. No, Natalie's voice rose. I killed Brianna by accident. I didn't mean for her to die, but after she was gone, after I'd already destroyed everything, I thought maybe I could at least salvage something good from it. Give Marcus the life we should have had. Give myself a reason to keep living instead of ending it every night. So you came back, contacted Marcus, started an affair. I offered to invest in stellar events, said I wanted to expand event management. Marcus was excited. You were distant, buried in your memorial garden projects for Brianna. He felt invisible around you, because I was grieving my sister, the sister you killed. I know. Natalie's voice was barely a whisper now. I know, and I used your grief against you. I encouraged Marcus to spend more time with me. I made him feel seen, appreciated, valued. Everything you weren't giving him because you were too busy punishing yourself. For something I didn't do, I spent 5 years thinking I killed Brianna by refusing to drive her that morning. 5 years of guilt that should have been yours. I know, Natalie said again. And I'm sorry. Elena, I'm so fucking sorry. If I could take it back, if I could undo any of it. But you can't. So instead you decided to take everything else from me too. My business, my home, my future. You didn't just kill Brianna, you killed me too. Just slowly. Over 6 months instead of 6 seconds. Natalie was sobbing now. I thought if I erased you, I could erase the guilt. If Elena Martinez didn't exist anymore, then Brianna Lopez's death would just be collateral damage in the love story. Just one sad thing that happened on the way to happiness. Did it work? She shook her head. No, it made everything worse. Because now I have to live with 2 deaths. Brianna's and yours. And Marcus? God, Marcus. He looks at me now like I'm a monster. Like I'm someone he doesn't even know. You are someone he doesn't know? I said. The woman he fell in love with doesn't exist. She never did. You've been playing a role for 20 years. The girl who lost a baby. The investor who believes in event management. The wife who just wants a second chance. But none of that is real. The only real thing about you is that you're a killer. I know. Say it louder. What some? Say it out loud. I killed Brianna Lopez. Natalie looked at me with red, swollen eyes. Then she turned to face the city. I killed Brianna Lopez, she said, her voice carrying over the sound of distant traffic. I sabotaged her car. I caused her death. I'm a murderer. Again. I killed Brianna Lopez. I'm a murderer. Again. I killed Brianna Lopez. Natalie screamed it now, the words tearing out of her. I killed her. I'm a coward and a killer, and I don't deserve to live. She collapsed against the railings, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. I stood there watching her fall apart and felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. No closure. Just emptiness where my sister used to be. What do you want from me? Natalie asked through her tears. You want me to turn myself in? I will. You want me to go to prison? I'll go. You want me to jump right now? Just say the word. I don't want you dead, I said quietly. I want Brianna alive, but I can't have that, so I guess I'll settle for the truth. I pulled out my phone, held it up so she could see I'd been recording. Everything you just said about Brianna, about the videos, about destroying my business, I have it all on tape. With your permission, I'm going to turn it over to the Nashville police. You'll be arrested, charged with manslaughter probably. Maybe criminally negligent homicide. You'll go to trial. You'll go to prison. And Marcus will have to decide if he wants to be married to a convicted killer. My guess he won't. So you'll lose him too. Just like you lost me. Just like you lost Brianna. Natalie nodded slowly. Okay, that's fair. That's more than fair. But I continued, I need something from you first. Anything. I need you to tell Marcus the whole truth. Not just about Brianna. About why you really came back. About how you used his loneliness to manipulate him. About how you destroyed my business just to isolate him. I need you to make him understand that this wasn't about love. It was about guilt and selfishness and your desperate need to rewrite history. He'll hate me. He should hate you. You used him. You made him complicit in destroying someone's life. That's worse than what you did to Brianna. At least with Brianna, you knew what you were doing. Natalie was quiet for a long time. Then she said, what if I tell him and he forgives me anyway? What if he decides he'd rather have me monster and all than be alone? Then you'll have to live with that guilt too, knowing that he's choosing you out of weakness instead of love, knowing that every time he looks at you, he's seeing the woman who killed an innocent person and got away with it for 5 years. I paused. Can you live with that, Natalie? Can you wake up next to Marcus every morning knowing he's only there because he's too weak to leave? I don't know, she whispered. Figure it out. When the police come tomorrow, you can decide if you're going to keep playing the victim or finally accept that you're the villain in this story. I turned to leave. Elena, Natalie called after me. For what it's worth, Brianna loved you. The night before she died, when I begged her not to tell you about the affair, she said Elena deserves the truth. She deserves better than lies. She was protecting you even then. The words hit me like a physical blow. She was always protecting you, Natalie continued, from our parents' divorce, from college stress, from anything that might hurt you. She said you'd already given up so much of your own life to raise her after your dad left. Said it was her turn to take care of you for once. I couldn't breathe. So that morning when she called and asked you to drive her, she wasn't really asking for a ride. She was testing you, seeing if you'd choose her or your career. And when you chose the career, she proved to herself that I didn't need her anymore. I finished. That she could stop protecting me and live her own life. And then I killed her 5 hours later, Natalie said flatly. So no, Elena, you didn't kill Brianna. I did. But you did lose your chance to tell her you loved her one more time, and I'm sorry for that. For all of it. 3:00 a.m. Backstage. Jake walked me back to my quarters. We didn't talk. There was nothing left to say. At my door, he handed me a business card. That's my contact at Nashville PD, Detective Chen. She's good. If you need help with the reports, the trial stuff, she'll take care of you. No charge. Why are you helping me? Because 5 years ago, someone should have helped you ask the right questions about Brianna's death. Maybe if they had, you wouldn't have spent half a decade blaming yourself. He paused. And because I know what it's like to want revenge so badly, you can taste it. I'm glad you chose justice instead. Did I? Natalie's not arrested yet. We don't turn over the evidence until tomorrow. A lot can happen between now and then. You're not going to hurt her, Elena. How do you know? Because you recorded her confession instead of pushing her off the loading dock when you had the chance. Because you gave her the opportunity to tell Marcus the truth instead of destroying her immediately. Because you're the kind of person who works backstage and saves every penny to rebuild your life instead of giving up. Jake smiled slightly. You're stronger than Natalie, stronger than Marcus, stronger than anyone gives you credit for. Don't prove them wrong by becoming what they think you are. After he left, I lay in my bunk and stared at the ceiling. Around me, 7 other women breathed in sleep. Sarah muttered something in her sleep. Someone else snored softly. I pulled out my phone, opened my photos, found the picture of Brianna, Natalie, and me at the Ryman. We looked so young, so happy, so convinced that friendship and love were simple things that couldn't be broken by mistakes or time or death. I'd been wrong about so many things, but Brianna had been right about one thing. I deserved the truth. And now I had it. Day 4, 11:00 a.m. I woke up to Sophia Martinez shaking my shoulder. Get up, she said. Nashville PD wants to see you. My stomach dropped. What tea? Natalie Chen filed a formal complaint this morning, but the detective handling it wants to speak with you first. Come on. I dressed quickly, followed Sophia to the security office. My mind was racing. Had Natalie changed her mind? Decided to turn me in before I could turn her in. But when we got to the office, Jake was there, not alone, with a woman in her 40s wearing a detective's badge. Ms. Martinez, the detective said. Detective Chen, I realized the one Jake had mentioned. I'm here because we received some interesting evidence this morning. A USB drive and a journal delivered to the precinct at 6 a.m., along with a full written confession from Natalie Rivera, also known as Natalie Ross, admitting to the vehicular manslaughter of Brianna Lopez in 2020. I stared at Jake. What? Natalie turned herself in, Jake said. Early this morning. Walked into the police station with everything. The videos, the journal, a 10-page confession. She waived her right to an attorney and gave a full statement. Detective Chen pulled out her tablet. According to her confession, she sabotaged your sister's vehicle with the intent to cause a minor breakdown, but the damage resulted in catastrophic brake failure. She fled the state the following day and has been living under assumed identities. She recently returned to Nashville and, quote, systematically destroyed Ms. Martinez's business and personal life in an attempt to erase evidence of her guilt. She really did it, I whispered. She actually turned herself in. There's more, Detective Chen said. She also confessed to identity fraud she's been using at least 3 different names over the past 5 years. Corporate fraud, she used false credentials to invest in and take over your company. And she implicated Marcus Chen as an accessory after the fact. Apparently, he helped her delete traffic camera footage from the night of the accident in 2020. So Marcus had known. Maybe not about the murder, but he'd helped cover it up. What happens now? I asked. Natalie will be arraigned this afternoon. Given the confession and the video evidence, the DA will likely charge her with second-degree murder. The brake tampering shows premeditation even if the death wasn't intended. She's looking at 15 to 25 years. 15 to 25 years. Brianna had been dead for 5 years. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. And Marcus, he's being charged as an accessory, probably looking at 3 to 5 years depending on what he knew and when. Detective Chen closed her tablet. Miss Martinez, I need you to come to the station to give a formal statement. Jake tells me you have a recording of Natalie's confession from last night. Yes. We'll need that too. And I have to ask, did you break into their hotel suite to obtain the journal and USB drive? I looked at Jake. He nodded slightly. Yes, I said. I did. Normally that would be a problem, but given that Natalie has now voluntarily surrendered all evidence and confessed, and given that the evidence you obtained led directly to solving a 5-year-old homicide, Detective Chen smiled slightly. I think we can overlook the breaking and entering, especially since Jake here has vouched for you. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank your sister. She deserves justice. And now she's getting it. 3 months later, Natalie pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 20 years in prison without parole. Marcus pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact and obstruction of justice. He received 5 years suspended to 3 with community service. The news coverage was extensive. Event planner confesses to 5-year-old murder. Love triangle ends in death and deception. Sisters Justice, how one woman uncovered the truth. I didn't read any of it. Instead, I focused on building. With the insurance payout from proving Brianna's death was murder, not accident, I had enough to start over. I opened a new company, Brianna's Light Events. We specialized in memorial concerts, tribute shows, and benefit events for victims of violence. Isabella came back as my partner. So did 3 other former Stellar Events employees who'd been casualties of Natalie's takeover. We rented a small office space in East Nashville Industrial, affordable, full of natural light. Not fancy, but ours. Our first client was a mother who'd lost her son in a drunk driving accident. She wanted a benefit concert to raise money for MAID. Our second client was a domestic violence shelter that needed an annual fundraising gala. Our third client was me. I designed a memorial concert for Brianna. Not a funeral or a wake, but a celebration at the Ryman Auditorium with her favorite local bands playing her favorite songs. On the program, I had them print, for Brianna Lopez, 1992-2020, who protected everyone but herself, who deserved better, who is still loved. The night of the concert, I stood backstage, the same place I'd hidden so many times over the years. But this time I wasn't hiding. I was remembering. Jake appeared beside me. He'd left festival work and now ran his own security consulting firm. We grabbed coffee once a month. Sometimes we talked about Sarah and Brianna. Sometimes we just sat in comfortable silence. "You did good," he said, nodding toward the stage where a singer was performing one of Brianna's favorite songs. "She'd be proud." "I don't know. She'd probably tell me to stop living in the past and build something forward-looking instead." I smiled slightly. She was always the brave one, always pushing me to take risks. "Sounds like she got that from you." "No, she got it from our dad. He was a dreamer, always chasing the next big idea, the next adventure. Our mom hated it, wanted stability routine. They divorced when Brianna was 8. Dad moved to Montana. We barely heard from him after that." "Did Brianna ever see him again?" "Once, right before she died, actually. She'd planned to meet him that weekend in Murfreesboro. They were going to have dinner, try to reconnect." I felt tears prick my eyes. "She never made it. And our dad? He came to the funeral, stood in the back, didn't talk to anyone, just disappeared after." "Do you know where he is now?" "No, and honestly, part of me doesn't want to know. He wasn't there when we needed him. Why should I track him down now?" But even as I said it, I knew I was lying. Part of me wanted to find our father, wanted to tell him what really happened to Brianna, wanted to ask if he blamed me the way I'd blamed myself, wanted to hear him say it wasn't my fault. "Elena," Jake said gently, "you know you didn't kill Brianna, right? You know that refusing to drive her that morning wasn't murder." "I know. Intellectually, I know. But emotionally, I shook my head. For 5 years, I've been living with the belief that I failed her, that I chose my career over her life. And now I find out the real killer was my best friend, and I still can't shake the feeling that I should have known, should have suspected, should have asked more questions." "You couldn't have known." "But I should have. Brianna called both of us that morning, me and Natalie. We both said no, and then she died. If I'd just said yes, if I'd just driven her like she asked, Natalie wouldn't have had the opportunity to sabotage her car. Or Natalie would have found another way, another time, another method." Jake turned to face me. "People like Natalie, people who are desperate enough to manipulate, they don't stop after one failed attempt. If Brianna had stayed home that day, Natalie would have just waited for another opportunity. You didn't cause Brianna's death by saying no. Natalie caused it by deciding her comfort was worth more than someone else's life." I wish I could believe that. "You will. Eventually." He paused. "It took me 3 years to stop blaming myself for Sarah's death. 3 years to accept that I couldn't have saved her just by paying more attention. The stalker was going to hurt her no matter what I did. I was just the convenient scapegoat for my own grief." On stage, the band launched into another song. The crowd sang along. Lights swayed in the darkness like fireflies. It was beautiful. Exactly what Brianna would have wanted. "How much longer until we can go out there?" I asked. 5 minutes. You're introducing the final act, remember?" "Right." I took a deep breath, smoothed down my dress, checked my reflection in a backstage mirror. I looked different than I had 3 months ago. Stronger, more settled. Like someone who'd finally figured out how to carry grief without letting it crush her. "You ready?" Jake asked. "Yeah, I'm ready." Epilogue. 1 year later, I'm standing in the Ryman Auditorium on a Saturday morning in July. It's the 1-year anniversary of Brianna's memorial concert. The venue is empty except for me and a few early setup crew for tonight's show. I walk to the spot where I stood last year, where I introduced the final act and talked about Brianna, about how she loved music, about how she lived to bring people together, about how she died protecting me from a truth I wasn't ready to hear. My phone buzzes. Text from Isabella. Board meeting at 2. New client wants to book the Bridgestone Arena for a domestic violence awareness concert. Big budget. You in, I'm in. See you at the office. Brianna's Light Events has completed 15 memorial concerts this year. 7 more are in development. We've raised over $2 million for various causes. We're not stellar events. We're something better. Something that actually matters. Marcus is serving his sentence at a minimum security facility in Chattanooga. He wrote me a letter 6 months ago, long, rambling, full of apologies I didn't need anymore. I wrote back, "I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." Natalie is in the Tennessee Prison for Women in Nashville. I haven't visited. Don't plan to. But I heard through Detective Chen that she's teaching event planning classes to other inmates, helping them design small businesses they could start after release. Maybe that's her penance. Maybe that's all any of us can do, try to build something good from the ashes of what we've destroyed. Jake quit security consulting and went back to Nashville PD. He's working cold cases now, giving other families the closure he helped give me. We still meet for coffee once a month. And my father, I found him 3 months ago, living in Bozeman, Montana, running a small music venue. I haven't contacted him yet. Haven't decided if I want to. Part of me wants to tell him about Brianna, about Natalie, about everything. Part of me wants to let the past stay buried. I run my hand along the stage railing. It's cool despite the July heat streaming through the windows. You would have loved this, I say to Brianna, to the air, to the memory of my sister that lives in every event I plan. Not the trial, not the revenge, but this. Building something that helps people, making sure other sisters don't have to go through what we did. The stage lights flicker on for a sound check. The crew is setting up for tonight's show. I should go. I have a meeting, clients waiting, a business to run. But I stand here for one more moment, breathing, remembering. 5 years ago, I lost my sister. 6 months ago, I lost everything else. But today I'm standing in the Ryman Auditorium running a successful business helping people heal. Today, I'm not the woman who served drinks to her cheating husband. I'm not the woman who blamed herself for her sister's death. I'm Elena Martinez, event planner, sister, survivor, and I'm finally free. I pull out my phone one last time, open my photos, look at that picture of me, Natalie, and Brianna. We were so young, so naive, so sure that love and friendship would be enough. But we were right about one thing. We were stronger together. And even though Brianna is gone, even though Natalie is in prison, even though everything changed, that bond, that love, that fierce protection we had for each other, that part was real. That part will always be real. I delete the photo, not because I want to forget, but because I'm finally ready to remember without it destroying me. I walk out of the Ryman into the bright Nashville morning. Behind me, the stage lights dim. Ahead of me, everything is possible.